I started juggling a long time ago, but long before that I was a golfer. And that's what I was, a golfer. And as a golfer and as a kid, one of the things that really sort of seeped into my pores that I sort of lived my whole life is process. And it's the process of learning things. One of the great things was my father was an avid golfer, but he was a lefty. And he had a real passion for golf, and he also created this whole mythology about Ben Hogan and various things. Well, I learned a lot about interesting things that I knew nothing about at the time, but grew to know stuff about. And that was the mythology of skill. And so one of the things that I love to do is to explore skill. And since Richard put me on this whole thing with music, I'm supposed to actually be doing a project with Todd Mackover with the MIT Media Lab that relates a lot to music. But Todd couldn't come, and the project is sort of somewhere. I'm not sure whether it's happening the way we thought or not. But I'm going to explore skill and juggling and basically visual music, I guess. Okay, you can start the music. Thanks. Thank you. Now, juggling can be a lot of fun. Play with skill, and play with space, play with rhythm. You can turn the mic on now. I'm going to do a couple of pieces that I do a big piece in a triangle, and these are 3 sections from it. Part of the challenge was to try to understand rhythm and space using not just my hands, because a lot of juggling is hand-oriented, but using the rhythm of my body and feet and controlling the balls with my feet. Now this next section was an attempt to explore space. See, I think Richard said something about people that are against something. Well, a lot of people think jugglers defy gravity or do stuff. Well, I kind of, from my childhood and golf and all that, it's a process of joining with forces. And so what I like to do is try to figure out how to join with the space through the technique. So juggling, gravity, up, down. Well, if you figure out what up and down really are, now it's a complex physical set of skills to be able to throw a ball down, up, and everything. But then you add in sideways. Now, I look at it somewhat as a way, when you learn juggling, what you learn is how to feel with your eyes and see with your hands. Because you're not looking at your hands, you're looking at where the balls are, or you're looking at the audience. So this next part is really a way of understanding space and rhythm with the obvious reference to the feet, but it's also where time, where the feet were, where the balls were. So visual music, rhythm, and complexity. I'm going to build towards complexity now. Juggling 3 balls is simple and normal. Well, excuse me. For jugglers, okay? And remember, you're transposing, you're getting into a subculture here. And juggling, the balls cross and all that. Okay, if you keep them in their assigned paths, you got parallel lines of different heights, but in a hopefully even rhythm. Then you can change the rhythm. Whoa, good, Michael. You can change the rhythm if you get out of the lights. Okay, change the rhythm so it's even. Or you can go back and change the height. Now, skill. Well, but you're boxed in if you can only do it up and down that way. So you got to go after the space down there. Okay, then you're going to combine them, because then you have the whole spatial palette in front of you. And then you get crazy. Now, I'm actually going to ask you to try something, so you got to pay attention. Complexity. If you spend enough time doing something, time slows down, or your skill increases, so your perceptions change. It's learning skills like being in a high-speed car crash. Things slow down as you learn, as you learn, as you learn. You may not be able to affect it. It almost drifts on you and goes. But that's the closest approximation I can have. to it. So, complexity. Now, how many here are jugglers? Okay, so most of you are going to have a similar reaction to this. Okay? And whoever laughed there had to say, what do you hear? Yeah. You understood it completely, right? No. It looks like a mess. It looks like a mess with a guy there who's got his hands around that mess. Okay? Well, that's what juggling is about, right? Is being able to do something that other people can't do or can't understand. All right, so that's one way of doing it, which is 5 balls down. Okay? Another way is the outside. And you can play with the rhythm. Same pattern. Make it faster and smaller. Make it wider. Make it narrower. Bring it back up. Okay, so, thanks. Now what I wanted to get to is that you're all very bright, very tactile. I have no idea how computer-oriented or three-dimensionally oriented you are, but let's try something. Okay, so since you all don't understand what the 5-ball pattern is, I'm going to give you a little clue. Enough of a clue? So you get the pattern, right? Okay. No, it's not, you're not getting off that easy. All right? Now, do me a favor. Follow the ball that I ask you to follow. Green. Yellow. Pink. White. Okay. You can do that? Yeah? Okay. Now let's actually learn something. Or actually, let me put you in that area of learning, which is very insecure. You want to do it? Yeah? Okay. Hands out in front of you. Palms up. Together. What you're going to learn is this. Okay? So what I want you to do, just listen to me and do it. Index finger, middle finger, ring, little. Little, ring, middle, index. And then open. Finger, 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 finger. A little bit faster. Finger, 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 finger. Finger, 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 finger. All right. A lot of different learning processes going on in here. One learning process that I see is this. Okay? Another learning process that I see is this. Okay? So everybody take a breath in, breath out. Okay. Now, one more time. And finger, 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 finger. Open. Finger, 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 finger. Okay. Shake your hands out. Now, I assume a lot of you spend a lot of time at a computer. Okay? So what you're doing is you're going la la la, and you're getting this. Okay? So that's exactly what I'm going to ask you to do, but in a slightly different way. You got to combine it. So what I want you to do is fingers. I'll tell you what to do with your fingers, same thing. But what I want you to do is also with your eyes follow the colored ball that I ask you to follow. Okay? Here we go. So we're going to start off looking at the white ball, and I'm going to tell you which color, and I'm also going to tell you to go with your fingers. Okay? So white ball, and finger, 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 finger. Pink. Finger, 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 finger. Green. Finger, 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 finger. Yellow. Finger, 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 pinker, finger. Finger, 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 finger. All right. How'd you do? Well, okay. The reason I wanted you to do that is because that's actually what most people face throughout their lives. A moment of learning, a moment of challenge. It's a moment that you can't make sense of. Why the hell should I learn this? Okay? Does it really have anything to do with anything in my life? You know, I can't decipher, is it fun, is it challenging, am I supposed to cheat? You know, what are you supposed to do? You got somebody up here who's the operative principle of doing that for his whole life, okay? Trying to figure that stuff out. But is it going to get you anywhere? It's just a moment. That's all it is, a moment, okay? I'm going to change the script for 1 second. Just let me do this. I don't need music for it. Talking about time in a moment. There's a piece that I recently developed which was all about that, a moment. And what I do as a creative artist is I develop vocabularies or languages of moving objects. What I've done for you here, I developed a lot of those tricks, whatever, and I put the choreography together, but they're not original techniques. Now I'm going to start showing you some original techniques that come from the work that I've developed, okay? So a moment. How would you define a moment? Well, as a juggler, what I wanted to do was create something that was representational of a moment. I'll use that in a minute. All right, I'm going to get on my knees and do it. So, a moment. Okay? Then what I did as a juggler was say, okay, what can I do to make that something that is dependent on something else, another dynamic? So, a moment. Another moment. Whoa! Excuse me, it's a little sweaty in here. A moment that travels. A moment. Let me try that again. It separates and comes back together. Time. How can you look at time? And what are you dedicated to in exploring a particular thing? Well, obviously, there's something in here, and you can all have a guess as to what it is. There's a mystery. There's a mystery in the moment, and it has to settle. And then it's dependent on something else. And then it comes to rest. Just a little thing about time. Now, this is expanded into a much bigger piece where I use ramps of different parabolas that I roll the balls on while I'm keeping time with this. But I just thought I'd talk about a moment. All right. Okay. Can we show the video of the triangle? Are we ready to do that? Yes? This is the piece that I told you about. It's a much bigger piece that I do exploring the space of a geometric triangle. The only thing I'll say about the last session is, if you ever tried juggling and driving the car with your knees at 120 miles an hour? The only other thing is it was a real shock. I always drove motorcycles, and when I bought my first car, it shocked me that it cost 3 times more than my parents' house. Interesting. Anyway, balance. Constant movement to find an approach to stillness. Cheating. Balance. Making up the rules so you can't cheat. So you learn. To approach stillness with different parts of your body. To have a conversation with it.
to speak, to listen. Whoop. Now, it's dependent on rhythm and keeping the center of balance when it falls, going underneath it. So there's a rhythm to it. The rhythm can get much smaller. As your skill increases, you learn to find those tinier spaces, those tinier movements. Thank you. Now I'm going to show you the beginnings of a piece that is about balance in some ways, and also, oh, actually, if you're bored, not here, here's one use for it. You can go with the Sticks One music. That has a certain kind of balance to it, which is all about plumb. I apprenticed as a carpenter's assistant. I apprenticed to a carpenter and learned about plumb, square, and level. And they influenced that and this next piece, which I'll do a little segment of. 2 sticks, you can go with it. Thanks. Which is, again, exploring space and the lines in space. Working with space and the lines in space in a different way. Oh, let's see here. So, I'll come back to that in a second, but working with one ball. Now, what if you attach something to it? Or change it? This is just a little thing that I made, because I really like the idea of curves and balls together. And then creating space and the rhythm of space using the surface of the balls, surface of the arms. Just a little toy. Which leads me to the next thing, which is, what do I got here? Okay. All right. I'm actually leading up to something, the newest thing that I'm working on. This is not it. This is exploring geometry and the rhythm of shape. Now, what I just did was I worked with the mathematics, the diameter and the circumference. Sometimes pieces are mathematical in that way, that I look at a shape and say, what about if I use this and this and this? Sometimes what happens in life affects my choice of objects that I try to work with. The next piece that I'm going to do, which is the cylinders piece, if you want to get that up, it has to do with cylinder seals from about 5,000 years ago, which were stone with designs that were used to roll over wet clay, with all sorts of great designs. I love ceramics and all of that. It's a combination of that, the beauty of that, the shape, and the stories that were involved in it, as well as the fact that they protected the contents. The second influence on this piece came from recycling, and looking into a tin can recycling bin and seeing all that beautiful emptiness. So, if you want to go with the music for cylinders. about geometry and everything, if you take the circle and you split it in half, can you run S-curve music? I'm going to do just a short version of it.
Just put it in my closet.
Circle split in half and rotated. And mythology. Anyway, that piece also has a kinetic sculpture in the middle of it. I dance around. Small stage, so. 2 minutes just to end. Mm-hmm. The latest piece that I'm working on, what I love is that I never know what I'm working on, why I'm working on it. They're not ideas, they're instincts. And the latest thing that I'm working on is something really, I don't know what it is yet. And that's good. I like not to know for as long as possible. Well, because then it tells me the truth, instead of me imposing the truth. And what it is working with both positive and negative space, but also with these curves. And what it involves, and I don't know if my hands are too beaten up to do it or not, but I'll do a little bit of it. It initially started off with me stacking these things, bunches of them, and then playing with the sense of space, of filling in the space. And then it started changing and become folding on themselves, and then changing levels. Because my attempt is to make visual instruments, not to just make, now I'll try one other thing. To work in 3 dimensions with your perceptions of space and time. Now, I don't know exactly where it's going, but I've got a bit of effort involved in this thing, and it's going to change as I go through it, but I really like it. Feels right. This may not be the right shape, and I have, look at this shape, and then I'll show you the first design I ever put to it. Just to see, just to play, because I love all different kinds of things to play with. Let's see here. To work with the positive and negative in a different way. And to change and to change. So I'm off in my new direction with this to explore rhythm and space. We'll see what I come up with. Thanks for having me.